begin all prayers and thinking as a part of all. I am in the love of all, and all love is in me. I am a part of all, and all love, I'm a part of all, and the all is a part of me. I am one as all, and all is one as me. I can succeed as a part of all or fail as an individual person. I can be all that I wish in all as long as my wish is to stay in all. I am never alone. All is, I am. All can, I can. All does, I do. Who? The guardian, who nothing would exist except by way of him. All right, so first let's jump right into where we left off, which I can never remember, but Tito, do you remember? Let's see, we left off the body. Did we talk about, I'm looking at scroll 5, the diet, proper diet. Wait, let me see, 17. Let's go to page 37. Well, go to page 36 where it starts, scroll 11. All right, so what I'll do is I'll read the first 9 verses, and then what we'll do is we'll start going around the room, and you'll read the next 9 verses for Tanisha and Lynn, and then you'll give a synopsis of what you get from those particular verses. Mind your mind for the jewels of your soul. Scroll 11. From the unreal to the real. 19 times 3 equals 57. Lo, there are experiences, my child, that cannot be described. 2. Just as colors cannot be described to a blind human. 3. However, all ordinary experiences are limited by time, space, and the law of cause and effect. 4. Normal awareness and overstanding do not transcend these bounds. 5. Finite experience is measured in terms of past, present, and future. 6. The concepts of time are illusory. 7. For they have no, that should be permanence. 8. Immeasurably small and fleeting. 9. The present cannot be grasped. I'm going to finish at 10. Both past and future are non-existent in the present. I'm going to finish at 11, and therefore are unreal. All right, so this is talking about, as the subject says, from the unreal to the real. Now, what do I get out of this? All right, so we're in number 5, finite experiences are all measured in terms of past, present, and future. Now, when you go to verse 10, both past and future are non-existent in the present and therefore are unreal. What is this saying? All of the experiences that you go through, you put it into a bucket. This is what happened to me in the past. This is what's happening to me in the present. And I have a fear, or I look forward to what's going to happen to me in the future. So when you create these buckets of past, in this bucket of present, in this bucket of future, when you're focused here, here's you. In the present, the past and the future is non-existent. I'm going to come back to that. Let me go to the past. A person who is rooted in the past, when you listen to their conversation, they're always talking about something in the past. They're rooted in the past. Their conversation is the past. Their visions are in the past. And so they're trapped. Now, in this past, normally, as we talked some time ago, this is where depression is. Meaning, people who get depressed are normally depressed about something in their past that they can't seem to get over, that they wake up in their present, but still they're thinking about their past. And when you are thinking about your past, you start feeling the emotions of those past events. And so this is what leads them into depression. And it becomes a cyclical loop like we talked about last week. And they just can't break that cycle of depression because their thoughts from the mind and their feelings from the heart are in unison here in the past. How do you break that? Yes, but it's not that easy. People will say, well, how do you let that go? You know, you could tell somebody, well, just let it go. And it doesn't work.
What was his response?
They don't know how.
Oh, okay.
Now, the future, when you are looking forward to the future, it oftentimes gives you this feeling of what?
Angst.
Anxiety. Yeah, you're so focused on the outcome. This is just as bad as depression because both are taking you out from the present. Now, anxiety. Anxiety causes your blood to race. You get anxious, you get nervous, you get irritable. And then in your present, when someone is talking to you, you're really not listening to them because you're focused on this other thing. So you might, it's a person that always rushes, what do you want? Tell me what you want. It's because they are thinking in their mind about some future, non-existent future event. Now, the past is gone. The future is non-existent. The only time change, growth, production can exist is in the present. If there's something that you want to break, something that you want to get over, you have to anchor yourself in the present. That brings us up to the how. How do I anchor myself in the present? Do you guys remember? I give it to you, I think, or just, what do you think? How would you anchor yourself in the present? Tanisha, Lynn, any ideas?
To try and focus on just where you are currently in that current situation, trying to be present, I guess, in the present.
Okay, then yeah, right. That's very close, and Tito just mentioned it as well. I don't like this marker. I need a different one. Eraser. Now, if you don't take anything from this particular meeting, take this one thing. Gratitude. Gratitude is of the highest vibration that anchors you to the here and the now. And it is the what we call the MIPTA. To all of your growth. That a lot of times you hear, what was that book, The Secret, and you hear about the power of the law of attraction, all of that. It all boils down to gratitude. Scientists have been conducting studies upon what feeling you express and how it affects your body. And they have found that when a person expresses gratitude, their physical body is at its optimum level, as well as the mind. When you express gratitude, no matter what situation you're going through, when you express gratitude for that, doors just seem to open up. If people always ask, how is it that, I don't get upset? And I've learned to always express gratitude, even for bad things, because when you have gratitude, when things come to you, whether it's good or bad, you're going to learn from it. You're going to grow from it. And I can just say magically, doors open, and then you'll find yourself always growing. Does that make sense? Now, what happens is people lose sight of this. And when you lose sight of gratitude, those things that we just talked about pop up. Yes. As long as you're rooted in gratitude, you are locked in the present. And that's where change happens. That's where growth happens. That's where everything happens. This is how you lock in on the present and change your present reality. Gratitude. It's not easy. You have to make it a habit, because we've developed so many habits of what we talked about last week, triggers. People know how to push your buttons, and it'll loop you back to the past of regrets and depression, or future of stress and anxiety. But go ahead, you say something, Son?
No, it makes sense. A lot of people know how to push my buttons.
And it's not really that they know how to push your buttons, it's you allow them to.
And then, you know what? Just going back 2 years ago, I stopped allowing that to happen. Before my goals that I have, and I don't have to worry about the future. Is what I need. Right. So, like when I wake up every day, do I want to wake up angry, or want to wake up like, hey, I gotta go to work and do what I gotta do. Everything I do today will move on to the next day. So that's how I feel. And I think that so it's like if I wake up every day making my bed every morning, the next thing will be the same thing. So
Right. Right, because it becomes cyclical. Yes. Right.
The past, it is hard to move on from things that you've done in the past, as far as that a lot of us would have went back in the past and said, you know what, if I went back in the past, I would have changed it, right? But then we can't dwell on it.
Right.
It happened, and we did it, and now this is what we got to move forward from this.
All right, no, okay, let's deal with that. All right, so there's
Like for instance, I used to regret how my life would have been if I didn't in 1999, if I didn't get incarcerated and I had a full ride scholarship to play at Marshall University, and then I got incarcerated, and then the coach from there was like, hey, since we know what happened, we're going to revoke your scholarship. If I didn't do that, then I would have been in a different situation. I would have think, you know what, I was in college playing ball, probably make it to the NFL, but didn't do it because, I was enough with it. And I was like, those one things that long time ago, a couple of years ago, I would sit there and go like, man, only if I would have been playing football, I would have been, my life would have been different. But I couldn't, I kept dwelling on it, right?
Right.
Like, you know what can I change? So, and then I think to myself and say, you know what? I already played football. I played in the minor leagues, and I retired 11 years ago. And then it's like, you know what? It is what it is. Let me give back to what I know. Give back, right? So now he's playing football, right? So I want him to make his own life, and I can still make it in college, being a coach. So it's like, now I'm rewriting history again. It's like, you know what? I don't have to worry about what I did.
Right. Right. All right. Now I'm going to go back to something that you said.
I know.
All right. So you were talking, no, because this applies not just to your situation, but there's a template, a pattern behind what you just said. All right. So Son was saying how he could have been playing football in the past if he hadn't got incarcerated, and that changed the trajectory of his future. And it could cause, and it may have caused you to have some regret about what happened, and you dwelt on it and regretted it. But there's a flip side to that. It could be, and you just never know.
Yeah.
Because let's say you did get into football, and then let's say you got injured, and or you know the CT is just going on with people, and they get these head injuries and commit suicide, or some girl might have accused you of molestation. You never know what was down that path, and if your guardians were rerouting your trajectory. And this is why even in that situation, you give gratitude, because if you're down, if there's a fortress and you're in the fortress and you're on the ground floor, and then there's a high tower in the fortress and somebody's at the top of that tower, the person at that top of the tower can see everything at a distance, and they can see what's coming to you. You're on the ground floor, you can't see it. You can look up and see the tower, but you got walls on this fortress. You can't see what's coming to the fortress. And this is how your ancestors are. They can see what's coming to you, and they can reroute your trajectory, even though you might be against it. It's like what you might do with your child. You might say, stay away from them. I know that they're bad people, but Dad, they're my friends. I like them. No, it's something you see because of your experience of taking you here. And Bo and Tony might be on the ground floor, and you're saying, I've been there. I know what you're going through, and you need to stay away from them. And this is it's the same pattern. Your ancestors are now higher than where you are, and have been and still can be guiding where you're going. You just have to acknowledge them. Now, you might not like it, just like Tony or Bo might not like some of the things you say, but it's for your best interest. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. So they guided me. Said, "Don't NFL."
Yeah, well, I'm saying, don't just look at the negative of what you lost, because you don't know.
That's what I didn't, like I said, I didn't dwell on it as much. So as since 2 years ago when I got help and everything, I learned to be proud of what I have. I'm thankful.
Right.
Everything in my life that I had to learn from it.
Right.
Everything that people come in my life, people go, things that I do, there's always something that needs to be taught.
Right.
And I need to learn from it. Right.
Yes.
So, every situation, sitting here with you guys is something I have to learn. Point, right?
Right.
So, and then it's just like I'm grateful. I'm not. I will tell you this. I'm not angry. And I'm not down. Right? I just wake up and I do started and I go through it. I don't worry about anything else but just
right.
And I like I said, you're thankful. So I'm just thankful that I have what I have now. People move forward, but I'm not looking towards the future because I used to do that in the past, and I used to if I don't get this, what's going to happen?
Right. Yes. Right. All right. Let's continue on. Mr. Tito, you're up.
Oh man. Tito.
Right. Tito. All right. Take us. Just go 11 to 20.
11.
Did I read 11?
Yeah, you ended.
All right, then go 12 to 21.
So ye live in a world of illusions.
That's good.
13. With meditation comes freedom. 14. Freedom from fear of death. 15. Most deep morals ponder that death is the end of existence. 16. However, in fact, death means only the extinction of the present name and form. 17. The greater the identification with name and form, the greater the fear. 19. Living a righteous way of life. 19. Living a righteous way of life induces detachment from name and from form. 20. It makes one aware of every changing nature of the body. 21. And of all phenomenal.
All right. So, Mr. Tito, what is your synopsis?
My synopsis of this is when you meditate, it frees you from the fear of anxiety, of depression. It calms you down, it centers you. And it breaks from the monotonous of rushing day to day to day. Rushing, sometimes you overwork yourself mentally, physically, and emotionally.
Okay.
Also, when it says, however, the fact of death means only the extinction of present name and form. We've been taught that when you die, that's it. Either you believe in some religion, you go to heaven or hell. If you don't, that's it. It's over. There's no existence in the beyond, or over. And it's stating that this is a moment. This is one realm. When you transcend, you go to the other realm. And to my knowledge, the other realm is more real than this. This is it's like reincarnation. Every life you a different person, a different name, a different path. They always lead to the same thing, going to the other realm. So fearing that if you're gonna lose this, losing, if I die, I'm gonna leave this person alone. If I die, I'm gonna lose my house. If I die, I'm gonna, all my memories, all my experiences, as living with you, I've learned that it's all an illusion. Real reality is the other realm. That makes sense.
All right. What do you all think? What are your thoughts on what we just read? I couldn't say. Thank you, Tito.
I like the 12. He lives in a world of illusion. I'm just trying to figure that, like, is it like, I don't know. I think to me, what illusion means that, like, everyday people look at, say, for instance, like TikTok or like YouTube. People say, "Hey, you can make this, you can do this, own this cars and all this houses." And it's like all these people who are successful teaching you how to become rich, but don't know where their journey started from, how much time they put in. But like a lot of kids nowadays see like rappers with all like the high clothes. So it's like they paint an illusion picture and say, "Hey, you can be a rapper, you can get all this, but there's work behind it." Right? So instantly, like everybody wants to live rich, but they don't know. That's to me, that's what I think. It's like they don't know how much work to be put behind it to see what they see. That's like, for instance, like all the celebrities create an illusion for us. Right? So that's.
Anybody else have any comments on that?
To add, when you say you're thinking about the future, anxiety, sometimes I'm so caught up of wanting to get more and more and more, and then they don't appreciate what's happening now. Like, for instance, we're having this class, and you'll think back, saying, "Well, I'm grateful for it, appreciate things, what to look for in learning into a true lesson in life." They are so caught up of, okay, how am I going to get the next 6 figures, or what do I need to do that fast money.
Okay. All right. Oh, go ahead. Let me let you finish your thought.
They can't bring that in the next one.
Okay. That is true. Something you said. All right, let me go. All right, so let me go to number 12. You live in a world of illusion. And 13, with meditation comes freedom, freedom from the fear of death. With meditation, as we talked about gratitude, it too locks you in the present. When you sit to meditate, what you're doing is learning how to clear your mind. You're learning how to set the past aside and all of its regrets and all of its depressions. You're learning to set the future aside and all of its fears and all of its anxieties. And when you sit for meditation, you're thinking first of your gratitude, what you're grateful for. Then you want to let that go. So meditation is like this. When you sit for meditation, as we done before, first you alkaline your body, and that's when you breathe out. We did that 9 times, and then you breathe in, out through your mouth, in, out, teeth closed. That will take your body, that gets rid of the negative energy from your body. So you're going from an acid base to an alkaline base. That's also in Qigong. There's Qigong practices that do that same thing. Then you allow your body, you sit in a comfortable position, whether it's on the floor but you want to keep your spine straight. And then you just, there's a muscle and membrane behind your ear. You try to relax your ears and you'll feel a drop. And your shoulders, and you'll feel a drop, because that's where stress normally resides, back here. Then as you're just sitting, you're focusing only on your breath. When you do that, and if you haven't been doing it, when you start doing it, you're going to get all of these thoughts coming in, thoughts of a loved one passing, thoughts of what's going to happen to you tomorrow at work. You're going to get all these crazy thoughts that you weren't thinking about, and your mind is just going to bombard you with a whole bunch of stuff. Now, you don't entertain that stuff. You just stay back as an observer and you watch it. And then you thank it and you let it go. And your mind is going to throw you something else. And you just think it and then you let it go and you return to your breath. Eventually, your mind is going to stop throwing stuff at you. And that's when you are going to sink into, I said sink, it feels like a sinking or a drop into another state of existence, a meditative state. And you will be aware that of your body, but you'll be aware that this body is not me. How do I explain that? You will feel that there's a you and there's a you inside your body. Now, what happens to people is we think this body is us. This is the illusion. You think that you are 6 foot, 210 pounds, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You get caught up in, this is me. No, that's not you. You're using this body only to navigate this space that we call Earth. That's the illusion. You are just, really, you are a spine with nerves, and all of this is just your shell that you are using. That is, let me see. Oh, okay, this was a good one. Most of you mortals ponder that death is the end of existence. However, in fact, death means only the extinction of the present name and form. You are a life force. As we talked about last week, we talked about Qi, which is used in the Orient, Prana, India, Sachem, ancient Egypt. This is what was used to make everything in existence, and it's in you. You can manipulate it to make your own creation, and it is what you return to. You are an extension of chi, prana, sekam. You are not the physical body. You are not male. You are not female. You are not black. You are not white. You are not Asian. You are not Arab. You are not even an earthling. You are a part of all that is making a journey here on this earth as a part of a continuing journey. You came from somewhere to here, and you'll be going somewhere else. People get caught up on the physical so that if I die or my brother dies or my mother dies, you fall into this depression. And where does depression lie? Because now you're thinking about all of the experience I had with grandma or grandpa or my wife or my husband or my son or my daughter, and now they're lost. Or in the case of, you want to say something? Oh, yes, okay. Or in the case of what's happening, you see today, a lot of these kids are committing suicide at 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. And then the parents are left with this regret. I could have done more. Why didn't I do more? And then some parents blame each other. It's your fault. No, it's your fault. Why didn't you do this? Or you could have did this differently, because now they're rooted in the past. And this is what death does. It makes you always look back. And unfortunately, people will have regrets about something they didn't do, something they didn't say. Instead of just looking back, you can look back, and look back with what? What should you look back with? Exactly. With gratitude. Be thankful for the experiences that you had with him or her, because they're on their next journey. And even if they could come back and give them the choice, they wouldn't, because now they're reborn somewhere else on their next journey. So this life is the illusion. The more you identify with the physical you, and there's some people, somebody just popped in my head. There are some people that are so wrapped up in their physical, Dr. Yurt calls them clothed conscious people, that if you were to strip them of all of their clothing, they would feel like they don't exist, because they're so wrapped up in their shoes and their jeans and their shirt or their look or their presentation to the world. And you take that away from them, and they feel that you've taken their life from them. There's people that are actually that wrapped up in their physical. Now, to some degree, each of us becomes that way, especially in the West, because that's what the West promotes, as you were talking about. If you do this on TikTok, oh, you can be this big millionaire. Or if you go into rap industry, you can live this life. And that gets, unfortunately, that really triggers, I don't know why, in the minds of young Black men. If you talk to, I don't know, 10 young Black men today, what do you want to be? They want to say, what?
Basketball, football player, rapper.
Yeah, rapper. Yep. Yeah. Most will say a rapper, because they see it as it's an easy life. You don't have to put in much work, and you get a huge return. That's how they see it, but it's a trap. Why do I say it's a trap?
Because they're only seeing the outside presentation. They don't know the behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's true. They don't know the behind the scenes. Okay. Let me start with behind the scenes first. Let me give an example. Jay-Z. All right, so Jay-Z is at, mega stardom level. Now, what you didn't see is the behind the scene. What are you talking about, the behind the scene? Jay-Z used to also walk with Dr. York. And then when you Google Jay-Z and Dr. York or Jay-Z and the Wapians, you'll see that he was wearing similar crown and was at one point teaching, trying to put messages in his music. But this happened, the behind the scene. This is when the record industry comes to you and say, hey, if you stop making that type of music and start making this type, then we'll catapult you to mega stardom. And so this is what a lot of behind the scenes do. Or in the case of young rappers, where they're talking about pedophilia or being taken advantage of sexually. And all of this is going on behind the scenes where these record execs are trying to make stars, but what are you willing to compromise to get there? This is what you don't see. Even in acting or in Hollywood, now they're talking about it. There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes behind the scene that makes these people stars that you see on TV. And then it normally doesn't come out until later, or they go into rehab and it's a part of their recovery because you're not seeing what's happening behind the scene. How do you break this cycle? You have, I don't want to say have to, you should have a purpose-driven life. Why are you here? And then you got to think about what you're doing. Was I put on this earth just to play football? Was I put on this earth just to be a rapper? Why are you really here? You came from somewhere. Your energy manifested here. You're now living and growing and breathing and eating and drinking here. Why are you here? What is your purpose? When you have a purpose-driven life, when you know your purpose, you are the ship that has left the port, knows its destination, and you will reach it because you did the navigation, you know what you know your food supply, and then you set sail. When you don't have a purpose, well, let's just take, let me say, let's say you got a captain that says, look, we are going to sail from, the Atlantic, and we're going to go from Virginia, and we're going to go all the way over to Ghana. And he knows the route, and he's going to take you. And then you got another captain, and he says, yeah, I'm going to go the same way. And you say, okay, well, what route are we going to go? He says, well, we're just going to set sail. We're just going to let the water take us there. Whose boat you're getting on? The captain who has a direction and a plan and is going there, or somebody who's just going to get in the water and say, well, let's see where it takes us. I think it's going to take us to Ghana, but let's just get in and see. All right, so Tito's getting in let's just get in the boat and see where it goes. No. Right. No. And so this is what happens. You got to have a purpose-driven life. Now, in the rap or the football industry or sports industry, the actors, meaning the rappers and the players, they don't have this. But the people who are here, they have this. And this is why things don't change. Let's take the NFL, for instance, the Colin Kaepernick thing. And then now you got the Coach Flores thing. These things are always happening because these people behind the scenes, they have a purpose. Their purpose is to control that industry. And unfortunately, I was talking to a Lyft driver yesterday, it's always against the Blacks. We were saying, why is it that every time these things of race comes up, it's always somebody against Black people? And it's just, and we just laugh because it's always against us. Everybody else can do what they want to do, but as soon as we, meaning Black people, want to get into the game, they want to move the goalpost, or they want to change the rules, you know. And this is something. And then when we say this, people say, oh, you're just being hypersensitive, or it's that black stuff again. But it keeps it's popping up now with Coach Flores. For those of you who aren't familiar with it,
New England Patriots, then he was the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. He got fired because I don't know what's going on, but he won his last 8 games.
Oh no, that's not the major controversy. The major controversy is the owner had agreed to pay him $100,000 for every game to lose.
Why?
Well, it's not. Don't even look at why. And yeah, don't even look at why yet. But then he had applied for a job with another team and was going for an interview. No, he got a text from Bill Belichick congratulating him on becoming the head coach. I forgot what team of the Giants. And he was like, he hasn't even interviewed with them yet. And come to find out, the Giants had already hired someone for the position, but they didn't tell him, it wasn't released yet because they have a diversity block to check off. So they have to interview Flores, who's a black guy from Honduras. And then they can say, we did look for, I don't know, minorities, and they weren't qualified. But and it just came, now he's suing because he hadn't even interviewed. They had already given the job to somebody else. Bill Belichick found out about it. Bill Belichick sent a congratulations, he thought, to the guy who got the job, but he sent it to Flores by accident. And so, but the thing is, it's not anything, it might be shocking to some people, but to Black America, it's like, it's another one.
What I don't like as I got older with the NFL is that, Colin Kaepernick said best, right? They look at young black male athletes as it's like modern day slavery, right? And if you have any type of defection, they're going to use you to a certain point until you get injured or whatever and cash you off. But as far as a coach, they came up with this thing where, like, the NFL, they made it mandatory where NFL had to interview different coaches,
right?
Coaches, but that shouldn't. Why did they have to make it? They should just say, hey, these coaches are qualified. Just don't make it a race thing. But every coach come in there. But the thing is, it's so stupid because they have to check off that block, right?
Right.
Like, okay, are the owners that racist? They didn't want to hire a minority coach.
Okay.
Or something is like and it's dumb. It's like I think if you have the resume, no matter what color you are, then and you think that you can fit the scheme of with the players, then you're more than capable of coaching, right? So it shouldn't be a race thing, but in today's society, everything is all about race.
Okay, let me go back into the why. You had said.
Yeah, and then I wanted.
All right, wait. No, go shoot another question.
Okay, my next question was, if were made to be slaves, how the hell did it turn around? And now I think they're the highest.
Okay, all right. Let me go into the why. All right, so now Son is asking, why can't people just submit their application and just be hired based on the application?
Yeah.
Why is it that some people have to try to exclude other people? Now, and under that, I got genetic memory. What now, Amun, what are you talking about? How does genetic memory link into the decisions that people are making today? A few classes ago, we talked about how you are still in contact with your ancestors, and your ancestors are still in contact with you. And that goes back 4 generations. So there is Anthony, and then there's Anthony's mom and dad. Let me put it here. And then Son also has a mom and dad, and mother has a mom and dad. And then let's do it this way: male, female, male, female, male, female, male, female, male, female. What was that?
How many people are back in
Right.
generation going back?
All right, so it goes back 4 generations from you. So if this is you, if this is Tanisha, or this is Lynn, or this is Son, whoever this is, has a mother and father. Then your mother and father also have a mother and father. So that's 2 generations. That's grandma. Then your grandmother and grandfather also have a mother and father. So that's great grandma and great grandpa. And then they too have a mother and father, and that's great great grandma and great great grandpa. Now, you are still able to commune with them and they with you. Also, geneticists have found something called genetic memory. There are thoughts and memories that you have that you think are yours, and you could swear that when you were a child and you were climbing that tree and you fell out and you broke your arm because you remember it, and it never happened to you. It's because it happened to one of your ancestors, and that genetic memory has been passed to you. They have found this is real. Now, similarly, let's take what Sam's talking about. Why is it that some Kakasu, just even in this day and time, have to express what we call racism? Now, there we go. Now you see how genetic memory plays in. It can literally be passed down.
Yeah.
Now, Nikola Tesla just popped in my head. His mother was, I forgot what she did, but she was great with memorizing. I think she had a photographic memory. And she, as a young child, you know, when Tesla was coming up, he was exhibiting that same thing, because you coming from your parents, they're in you. And those thoughts still have a pathway into you, going back 4 generations. Now that you know this, you can actually use this on this side of life, the physical side, to better your life. And we talked about this, how here's you, and here's your ancestors, ANCES, in this space here. There we go. So there is a gateway that opens in between. It's actually in between 2:30 and 3:30. That is optimum time for your ancestors to come down and for you to go up. And this would be the best time if you have something that you want to do, something that you want to grow. If you want to commune with your ancestors, it's best at that particular time, in between 2:30. What did I say? 3:30? I forgot what I said. Yeah.
Is that 2:30 and 3:30
Yeah, 2:30
a.m. or
and 3:30.
p.m.?
Yeah, a.m.
Okay.
Yes. So that is the best time. And what you would do, you know, as I was telling Son some time ago, what you say, well, how do you talk to your ancestors? Just like I'm talking to you. And so what I do is when I get up at that time, you know, I wash my face, wake up, and then I'll sit for meditation. And then I'll have a picture of my grandmother, and I'll have a candle. But those are aesthetics. What's important is you sit and you relax and you focus on gratitude. And then you bring into mind the ancestor that you want to come forward. Now you might say, I don't know my grandmother or grandfather or my great grandmother or my great grandfather, any of them. So how do I call upon them? You don't have to know them, because they know you. And all you have to do is sit and say, and you establish a link. And what I'll say is, by way of my mother's mother's mothers and my father's father's fathers, all the way back to my root soul seed, I ask that my grandmother, Mary Hunt, come forward, mother of my mother. And this act of extending will bring them closer to you. And then you just talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. Now, Panabab Yanun did teach that if there's something that you want specifically for you, then you talk to one of your 30 or so ancestors. Now, if everybody has 30, but if your mother and father are still living, then that's 28. And if all of your grandparents are living, then your ancestors numbers goes down. But we're talking about the ones who have transitioned to that other side. So if you want something specifically for you, you call upon your ancestor to make that happen. Now, there's another process if you're doing something for the world at large, but we'll stick with our ancestors for now. And that window is in between 2:30 and 3:30.
Question. All right, so say you talk to your ancestors, right? It might be out, and say you talk to your great grandfather, but you don't know him, call him for it, but he was sadistic and a serial killer and all that stuff, and talk to him, and then
Good point.
what happened to that point, right?
Right. Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, oh, I'm evil now.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. So what you want to do is like what I'll also say is I ask that my ancestors of the pure, happy, healthy, radiant green light come forward, because the green, you can't be an evil person and radiate a green light, a green aura. Your aura is going to follow you, and it has a certain vibration which manifests as a certain color. So you want to specify that you want an ancestor of yours that have a certain vibration.